Good day everyone. Today I am going to present the research that I have conducted which is to do with classroom ideologies and teaching styles of English language teachers in a post-colonial context. If we take a look at most of the post-colonial context, which is the countries which has been colonialized by the British Empire, there are few certain stereotypes that has been surrounding the educational world, especially to do with learning English as a second language. So we can see normally the monolinguals, which are the native speakers of English, are considered to be as better teachers than the multilinguals. So multilinguals here refers to the non-native speakers who speaks English as a second or other language. The reason why this stereotype is surrounding these countries are because of the superiority of inner circle varieties of English and the teaching styles of monolingual teachers. Because there is an assumption surrounding the world of English language teaching that those who comes from inner circle countries such as the USA, UK, Canada, and other countries which uses English as a first language as better speakers, and as a consequence, those teachers who come from that countries, that particular countries, are considered to be as better teachers. So the aim of this study is to conduct an empirical investigation to investigate this assumption that we can see in many post-colonial countries. When we look at the past studies, the literature review that has been conducted in relation to this issue is most of the past studies, they are confined to a particular group of teachers' practice. So which means they either look at the native speakers or they either look at the non-native speakers of English, what they are doing in the classroom. The differences of teaching behaviors between these teachers. Yes, there are many studies which has been conducted between native and non-native teachers. However, those studies are only confined to their teaching behaviors. The studies to do with their practices are still lacking. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, so there are lack of empirical research on the teachers' teaching styles. So many studies has been conducted, but it only looks either particularly at a particular type of teacher, or they compare the teaching behaviors of the teachers. But to do with the teaching styles, there are still lack of studies. Second language studies focuses on classroom discourse as a way to understand the classroom event. So in order to know the teaching styles of the teachers, we have to look at what is happening in the classroom itself. So mainly we have to look at the classroom discourse of the teachers and also the students to understand the teaching styles that is happening in the classroom. But rarely, past studies has examined teachers' ideologies and its correlation to the actual practice. So as I mentioned earlier, it's confined to one particular aspect. So very rare that they have looked at two different things, which means they look at the teacher's ideology and then they try to compare what the teachers are doing in their classroom. Because I think that makes more sense. Teacher really doing whatever that they are preaching or that they are believing that they are doing in the classroom. So this study intends to answer three questions. So the first question is, do the two types of teachers have different teaching ideologies? So which are namely the native and non-native teachers. Do the two types of teachers have fundamentally different teaching practice? And how do the two types of teachers' teaching practice relate to the ideology? So this study has been conducted in Malaysia. in tertiary English as a foreign language classroom, which is located in Selangor, one of the states in Malaysia. So I looked at two different types of classrooms. The first one is the lower intermediate, and the second one is upper intermediate. So how you can understand the difference between lower and upper intermediate is basically on their proficiency. So both students, they could read, write, however they have quite low proficiency when it comes to speaking. Although it is considered as upper intermediate, they have not got good proficiency level when it comes to the communication. So the participants, there are three types of participants in this study. First, the teachers, two different types of teachers. I had two monolingual and two multilingual teachers. And then 6 student participants from the teachers' classrooms. And then 3 overseas trained teachers. So there is a reason why I included overseas trained teachers, because if we look the practice in Malaysia, many Malaysian teachers are sent to overseas to acquire their teaching as English as other languages or teaching English as a second language degree from those countries. So with the belief that they will bring in different style and the approaches which are being used in these countries. So I want to know their perception as well to do with teaching styles, practice, and ideologies. So the methodology that I implemented in this study, it is an ethnographic study of multiple case study because it involved 3 different types of participants. The study has been conducted for 10 weeks. The methods of data collections are inclusive of classroom observation, video and audio recordings, and also interviews. So the classroom observation and video and audio recording, those involve observing the teaching practice of my teacher participants, whereas the interviews has been conducted with all my participants who are the monolingual, multilingual teachers, the students, and also the overseas trained teachers. So the methods of data analysis, I use 2 methods, so it's a mixed method study, qualitative and also quantitative. For qualitative, I use conversational analysis to analyze the teacher's classroom discourse, and also I have made use of language ideology concept to look at the teacher's ideologies. Whereas quantitative takes place in terms of frequency counts and also descriptive statistic, counting the teachers' numbers of questions and then the numbers of responses that they have received to their questions. So what I found, so this is the result for the first question. Do the 2 types of teachers have different teaching ideologies? So if you see here, basically all the teachers, they believe that they are using learner-centered teaching styles, and they are using CLT, which is communicative language classroom exercises or activities, and there is a mixture when it comes to the types of questions that they are using. Both, that's a combination. So certain teachers believe that they are using referential question, and they are making use of open floor questions, and they are also making use of repair strategy in terms of, they are making use of explicit repair strategies and implicit repair strategies. And when I asked their opinion about the standard language use, so are they using the standard British English in the classroom, or are they using the, a combination of local Malaysian varieties as well? So most of the teachers, they believe that they are using standard English. However, Puja, so if you look here, LM and EM, it indicates LM is the local Malaysian. Puja and Sunny ELIN, they are the European teachers, non-Malaysian teachers. And then this OST is the overseas trained teachers, right? So the variable that I use to look at the teachers' teaching practices, I focus particularly on the questioning patterns of the teachers and how are those questions generating responses from the learners. So I believe, and there are also research that states questioning is fundamental in teaching practice. Therefore, I have chosen questioning pattern as my variable. And yeah, basically questioning also helps me to determine the types, teaching styles, the types of teaching that the teachers are using in their classroom. So I looked at two different types of questions. So the questions I have categorized into two, which are the academic and non-academic questions. So academic here refers to those questions which is related to the lesson, which can bring knowledge, test knowledge or test understanding of the students. Whereas non-academic here refers more to the managerial question, such as the teacher asks questions such as A, can you please answer? Or A, can you move to that table? Those questions that the teachers use to manage the class. It has nothing to do with the content of the lesson. Okay, for the second question, the two types of teachers have fundamentally different teaching practices, and this is what I have found. For the Malaysian teachers and also for the overseas teachers, native English speakers, all the teachers are using teacher-centered teaching style, which is contradicting with what they believe. They believe that they are using learner-centered, but in actual they are using teacher-centered teaching style. So these are the number of responses that the teachers manage to generate from the students. Okay, and then those are the types of the questions that the teachers use. I found that the Malaysian teachers, Puja and Sunny, they make use of more non-academic questions, but they generated more answers from the students. Whereas the native teachers, Chris and Aileen, they make use of more academic questions. And this is the number of questions that answers that they have generated from the students. And when it comes to the manner of questions, we can see here the native teachers, they use open floor questions, whereas the non-native teachers, they use individual nomination. Individual nomination refers to, they call upon the student's name. And when it comes to the repair strategy, after questioning, for instance, if the students have given a less correct answer, an incorrect answer, so how the teachers are correcting the students. So Eileen and Chris, they are using implicit manner, whereas Sani and Puja, the Malaysian, they are using less implicit manner. So less implicit manner, they usually would, say it off to the students, right? That their answers are incorrect. And when it comes to their standard language use, we can see the Malaysian teachers, they make use of Malaysian English. It's not that they are using Malaysian English all the time, but there is some variation can be seen. For instance, so do you think the student is right? The discourse right, those kind of things are being used when they are questioned. Whereas the native teachers, they only make use of standard language. So moving on to the third question, how do the two types of teachers' teaching practice relate to their teaching ideologies? And this is what I have found. As I have discussed in the previous slide, so most of the teachers, not most, all of the teachers, they believe that they are using learner-centered, but in actual they are making use of teacher-centered. Also, when we look at the type of questions, they believe that they are making use of, referential question, most of them. Yeah, all of them, they stated that they are making use of referential, but in actual, they make use of only discipline question. And when it comes to their corrective strategy, there is a combination of implicit and some things are contradicting, whereas some are not. And then when manner of questions, individual nomination, we can see the native teachers are using open floor in actual, whereas the Malaysian teachers, they are using individual nomination. And same goes to the standard language. The Malaysian teachers make use of Malaysian variety, whereas the native teachers make use of standard language. So, as a conclusion, we can say that there is a very little variation in the teachers' ideologies that allows to distinguish the two types of teachers. So, which means we can't really say native teachers, they have a particular ideology, and non-native teachers, they have a particular ideologies. We can't distinguish only by using the ideologies that the teachers have. However, the study shows that there is variation in gender. The male teachers, both male teachers, the Malaysian and the native teacher, the male, they prefer top-down approach, especially when they are repairing the students' questions, students' answers. Whereas the female teachers, which is the Malaysian and also the native teachers, they prefer the inductive approach. Teacher education, so therefore teacher education must raise awareness in exploring teachers' ideologies and learners' beliefs. Because most of the time the teachers think that they are doing certain things, but in actual, in the classroom, they would have different things that they are doing. Yes, I do understand the situation and the circumstances in the class changes our teaching practice. But it is really important for the teachers to know what the learners are expecting from them as well. So that there will be a correlation between what we are doing in the classroom and what the students are expecting from us. So teacher must ensure there is no extreme differences between their ideologies and what the learner wants in actual. Also, there is no significant overall difference in the teaching styles of the teachers. So, same goes to the same goes as the ideology. We can't really tell apart between native and non-native teachers from their teaching practice. However, some differences have been noticed, which are the usage of academic and non-academic question. The Malaysian teachers, they use more non-academic question, and they generated more number of responses from the learners. Whereas the native teachers, they use more academic question, but they generated less number of responses from the students. So this also could be related to the background of the Asian students as well. Whereas they are a bit intermediate and shy to participate unless you call upon their name to give answers or responses. So that could be related. So non-academic question is actually also important in managing classroom. And we can look at the manner of turn allocation, how the teachers are allocating turns. Is it individual nomination or open floor questioning? So as discussed earlier, the native teachers, they do prefer open floor questioning. And they also make use of individual nomination. It's not as what they claim that they don't make use of individual nomination at all. And then when we look at the repair strategy, also we can see the differences. It's more on gender rather than the types of teacher themselves. So assumption of superiority is not true in this case. So which means those native speakers are better teachers are not particularly true in this case. So all teachers need training in managing questions. This is very important because in this case we notice both types of teachers, they do need some training on how they are managing questions in classroom. So first of all, for that, they need to be aware of what their ideologies are and what they are doing in actual in the classroom. So reflection also is needed on what type of questions are essential for the learner. So what type of question can build up students or learners' thinking skill in the classroom? So overall, there is lack of correlation between teachers' actual practice and ideologies for both sets of teachers. So disparity in teaching styles, manner of turn allocation, and repair strategies. We can see differences here. It doesn't relate to what they believe that they are doing. So in this case, the trained teachers, which are the Malaysian teachers, they are expected to display more correlation since they are trained to be teachers, whereas the native teachers are expatriate teachers. So teacher training programs in Malaysia or in all the countries overall should strengthen activities that promote teachers to investigate their ideologies and practice. So it is really important, we as a teacher, we should know what we are doing in the classroom, and are we really doing what we believe we are doing. So in terms of that, the program should include more reflection on teachers. With that, I end this speech.